graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Introducing from Atlantic City, New Jersey, weighing in at 210 pounds, your Italian hero, Joey Image!
Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to episode 32 of the podcast. This is a special Valentine's Day edition. I wanted to kind of mix it up here. No stories about love and mushy crap. I wanted to just do rejection stories, stuff that, sucks. And I've got 3 of my own that I think are now I think are hilarious. At the time, I was bummed out, but I thought it would be funny to kind of share those with you on air. I've shared them with a couple of friends in my personal life, and they seem to be, pretty popular amongst my my group of stories. So I figure I'll share them with listeners and see what you guys think. And I also put out a tweet a bunch of times. I got some app that does scheduled tweeting, so you just put in a time, and it tweets it for you at that time. So I put out a tweet looking for your own rejection stories to send me via email. And I only got one, so either nobody gives a shit, or no one's listening, or no one's paying attention. But whatever, I'm going to do this episode anyway. Because if not for anybody else, just for me to kind of get it out, and get out, my creative juices flowing, or whatever the hell, whatever the phrase is. But I'm going to start with that email that I got from a guy named Miguel, and I'm not going to give Miguel's last name out. I don't know if he wants that out there, but I'll just say he's a guy that I consider a friend, at least. I mean, I know him in person. We met at a wrestling show a couple years back. I think it was like November of maybe 2011 or 12, the last IWF show in Woodland Park or West Patterson. I worked on that show, and I met Miguel that night. So I'm going to read his email first and then kind of talk about that, and then we will get right into the other stuff, the stories of mine. But before I get started, I just want to touch on something I talked about in my last episode, which was only a few days ago, episode 31, where I talked about Daniel Bryan, Axel Rotten, and Awesome Kong. I want to touch on the Daniel Bryan stuff. Actually, I will briefly touch on the Awesome Kong thing, too. Let me get the Awesome Kong thing out of the way, because it's small, and it just happened a couple hours ago. There was a rumor on Twitter that she's coming back to WWE, and that she was teasing the rumors herself on her Instagram with pictures of herself in her WWE gear, which I don't understand what that means, because her WWE gear is the same gear she's worn in any company. So I don't understand how this quote-unquote news site picked up that as a teaser. But there were 2 videos posted that were her vignettes before she was actually in WWE as Karma a few years back. So people took those as like teasers or like hints that she may be going back to WWE. Now, first things first, the website that posted this, I don't even remember the name of it, and I'm sorry, I should really know so I can blast them, but I don't remember. I'm sure it had something like wrestling and news in their title. They all do. They're all so original and creative, these online dirt sheets, that really, most of the time, they either don't know what they're talking about, or they call Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer a bunch of hacks, but then they go and copy their info anyway. Like, I've seen so many news websites that will say, they'll openly bash Dave Meltzer and the Observer in tweets, but then their next news story is something that they didn't post until after Dave Meltzer confirmed it. Or they'll even say in there, according to the Wrestling Observer, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't bury a guy and then take his shit and use it as your own. Or even if you give him credit for it, then why you bury him? You're relying on him for credibility and truth, and you're posting that based on that reliability that you're giving to him, yet you're burying him. Like, there's no logic in that, and none of these people are journalists. It's just a bunch of guys that copy and paste crap from other websites, and it's one big circle jerk of all these morons copying and pasting each other's shit. And it's hilarious. But the reason why this one kind of bothers me a lot is that Awesome Kong is a very close personal friend of mine, and I just don't like people putting stuff out there that's not true about people I care about, or people that are friends of mine, or whatever. And reason number one that I know this is not true, and that this quote-unquote news website should know it's not true, is that Awesome Kong doesn't have an Instagram. She's said that multiple times. So the article said Awesome Kong teases WWE return on her Instagram account. Well, you know what? She doesn't have an Instagram account. So right away, that's a huge red flag. Hey, maybe a fake, maybe a fake, maybe a fake. Oh, they don't think of that. They just take this and they run with it, and they post. I mean, it didn't even say teases return in the headline. The article itself said she teased her return with Instagram posts. The headline said, Awesome Kong returning to WWE. Really? That seems pretty confirmed to me, but no. It's a clickbait bullshit headline that they're going to use just to get clicks and get views. I guess not a lot of people think that, hey, it says it here, it must be true. Not a lot of people think that, well, what's their source? Or where's the logic behind this? Or she said a bunch of times on Twitter that she doesn't have an Instagram, and that's why it's obvious that this is not real. How come this quote-unquote reputable news site doesn't know that? So I had at it. I tweeted them 5 or 6 times. They've since not answered me, which I'm sure they won't because they're fucking morons and they look like morons now. But my question to them was, don't you do any research? She tweeted she doesn't have an Instagram. Why would you say on her Instagram she is teasing a return? That doesn't make any sense. I can go on Instagram and make it at Bill Gates and say, fuck Microsoft, I'm buying Apple. Are they going to run with that story saying Bill Gates is going to buy Apple without going into any research? No. So why would anything else be different? It's just ridiculous. But anyway, I don't want to get into a bunch of rants here. I just want to say that article is not confirmed, not true. I spoke to her myself personally and privately today, and we discussed this, and the Instagram account is a fake, and the quote-unquote news report has zero accuracy to it, and in my eyes, that website has zero credibility behind it because it's proven 100% right there that they do not do research. They just post stuff to get people to view it. And again, this was probably 4 or 5 hours ago. They still have yet to respond to me, asking them, why don't you do research before you post something? They have yet to respond to me, and chances are they won't because I'm right. And I'm not a big toot my own horn guy, but toot toot. Okay? I'm going to leave it at that. And back to the other thing, I wanted to touch on the Bryan Danielson / Daniel Bryan thing. A lot of people asked me, I think like 2 or 3 people messaged me, one DM on Twitter, and a couple of Facebook people messaged me and said, hey, how come you refuse to call him Daniel Bryan on your last podcast? You know, good show, but there's a lot of feedback I get that usually starts with, hey, great show, but ABC, or hey, good show, but blah, blah, blah. First of all, I don't refuse to call him Daniel Bryan. I called him that several times, as well as in the post when I linked that podcast to begin with. I don't refuse to call him Daniel Bryan. I don't, what my deal is, and this is just how I was raised, this has nothing to do with wrestling, this is just respect. I address people, and I talk about people the way that I was introduced to them. If I go outside and my neighbor's, outside and his girlfriend's there, and she says, hey, my name is Jen, am I going to call her Steve? No, I'm going to call her Jen. That's her name. That's how I was introduced to her. I was introduced to Bryan Danielson as Bryan Danielson, or as Brian. Hey, I'm Brian. How are you? I'm not going to call him Daniel. That's not his name. And I'm not talking, and I wasn't talking about the character. Daniel Bryan is the wrestling character. I was talking about the retirement of the actual person, Bryan Danielson. If you don't understand that, that's not my problem. Again, I was introduced to him as Bryan Danielson, not as Daniel Bryan. I've been in a locker room with the guy before. It's not, I didn't just meet him one time and he said, hey, I'm Daniel Bryan, how are you? And that's it. So, and again, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm trying to explain to the people that ask me that. And I shouldn't be animosity about it, whatever the word is. But it's just the people that asked me this came off very condescending, as if like I'm too stupid to, or I'm too proud to refer to him by his WWE name because I'm an indie guy. It's not that at all. It's just the way I was introduced. I was in a locker room with him more than once. One time was at Rahway, New Jersey for Evolve 5 when I was in the back, and he wrestled Sawa that night. In fact, if you go to Evolve 5 or Evolve's website and look up Evolve 5, there were a lot of great matches on that card and a lot of great dudes on that card. That was the first night that I met Jon Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose. First time I met him in person also. First time I met Gran Akuma in person. There's actually a picture on my website, a picture on my Facebook of myself and Homicide backstage, And in the background is Grant Akuma, is John Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose, and a couple other people. Awesome Kong was there. She wrestled Mercedes Martinez. Both two girls that I know very well also. So it's not like I was just, not saying his WWE name because I refused to. It's because that's how I was introduced. That was the second time I shared a locker room with Bryan Danielson. The first time was in Union City, New Jersey, at the old Ace Arena, which I also think was for an Evolve show, where he wrestled Bobby Fish, and the finish was a bunch of violent elbows, man. It was awesome. And I think that show also had John Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose, against Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper. And Luke Harper have been in the locker room with a bunch of times as well, actually, in New York. And only was in the locker room with Dean Ambrose, I think, once or twice. But just because I call these guys by those names, Bryan Danielson or Brody Lee or John Moxley, it's because that's how I was introduced. If I meet you today and say, "How you doing? I'm Joe," and then in 15 years I'm on TV somewhere, say I'm in a movie and my character's name is fucking Billy, I don't want you to come up to me and say, "Hey, Billy." No. Call me Joe. I just introduced you to me as Joe. Why would I suddenly want you to call me something else? That's just a character. You're talking to me as a person. You're not talking to me as a character. I'm talking about Bryan Danielson, the person, not Daniel Bryan, the character. I'm getting annoyed because I think this is such a fucking stupid question, and this shouldn't have to be explained. Not that I shouldn't have to explain it, but people should not need an explanation to begin with. They should understand. And in this day and age, in 2016, in the pro wrestling landscape, where everyone claims to be quote-unquote smart to the business, even though 99% of them are not, and they don't have a clue what that really even means, and then I feel like I shouldn't have to explain that, or nobody should have to explain that. If I say Bryan Danielson, you should know that I'm talking about the person. If I say Daniel Bryan, you should know that I'm talking about just the character. Unfortunately, too many people don't understand that and claim that they do, or like to think that they do, but really don't have a clue. And this is just my opinion as I see it, based on my experience in the business from the last 16 years. This is not sour grapes, or this is not me saying, hey, you guys don't know what you're talking about. No, this is just my opinion based on experience. You're allowed to disagree with me. You're allowed to agree with me. You don't like it? That's fine. You do like it? That's fine. Whatever. This is just my opinion. But anyway, enough ranting. I'm going to get to these rejection stories really quick. And again, like I said, first I want to read Miguel's story, and then I will move on and tell you my three that are probably three of my favorite, I don't even know, relationship-related stories, I guess is the right thing to say. So let me get on to Miguel's right here. And he says, "The year was 1998. I was a teenager in high school. It was New Year's Eve, and I went to pick up a girl at her job. We had been dating for about 2 weeks. Her boyfriend didn't know." Now, let me just pause for a second. Now, Miguel doesn't say whether he knew she had a boyfriend, or if he thought he was the boyfriend or didn't know there was anybody else, or if the girl told him, "Hey, I'm single," or if he knew she had a boyfriend and didn't care. I don't know. But that's what it says. Her boyfriend didn't know. Anyway, I'm continuing. We both picked her up for a New Year's Eve date. Him on the bus and Miguel in his car. When they figured it out, he said he laughed and just walked away. And after a very short drive later, he saw them both at the bus stop. Rolled down his window and yelled, "Happy New Year, bitch." That's actually really funny. It's kind of fucked up, but it's funny. But again, I don't know if each guy knew that there was another guy or what. But I think it's kind of a funny story, and it's ballsy. I would never do something like that. I couldn't tell two girls that like we're both dating and then try to hide one from the other. I'm not smart enough to handle that. Not that I would want to anyway. But I'm definitely not smart enough to try to work out, like, how am I going to hide one from the other and then plan, stuff to do with one and then go out with the other on other nights. Man, I can't handle that. Hell no. I wouldn't do that to somebody, and I wouldn't do that to myself, just to my mentality and my sanity. That's kind of crazy. But anyway, let me get on to my three stories, and I'm going to try to do these quick. Like I said recently, I'd like to try to keep these shows to maybe 30, 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, and then if it's that long, I can edit it down to about a half hour. So I'm almost at about 13, 14 minutes here, so I'm going to try to get through these three stories pretty quickly. So, and these are not in any order of like my favorite or anything like that, or chronological or whatever. These are just three stories that I remember. If I really kind of sat and thought about it, I could probably figure out when they were. Like I know this first one I'll tell you about jury duty. I know this happened in 1998 only because I remember having to take off from my job for the whole week, and that job was I worked in Pearl River, New York, at one of those 10-minute oil change places. So I remember having to take off. And I only remember that because my boss there was really cool, and he would clock me in anyway. So I was getting the $5 a day for jury duty, plus I was getting my regular pay from work. And he always did shit like that. I was off on Tuesdays. He would clock me in on Tuesdays for 8 to 12 in the morning just to say I came in and had a half a day. And, not for any reason other than he was a cool guy. But anyway, I will start with this story. I had jury duty for a week in 1998, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I got the letter, you have to call the phone number, and they give you a number, and it says, hey, if we call your number on this recording, then you have to show up. So I get the thing, I show up, they call my name, I go in there for 5 days. It was some kind of like dental malpractice thing. I don't know, some guy was having like veneers put in or something, and some kind of substance that they use to stick them to his gums or whatever, however it goes, kind of ate away at his gums. The guy was missing like half of his mouth. It was disgusting. But anyway, there was this really super hot blonde hairdresser chick there that had like this purplish, what do you call it? Purplish lavender, like Chrysler LeBaron, like the convertible kind. And I remember her telling me she worked at a hair salon in Closter, and it was one that I had heard of. So that's how we started talking. And I told her I live like 10 minutes away from there. And we started talking and, about our friendships and growing up and, whatever, our friends and groups of friends and places we hung out and stuff we did and blah, blah, blah. Just making small talk, kind of trying to get to know each other. So this was Monday. So we go into, I guess, lunch it was, because they would break at 12 to 1 o'clock for lunch. So we did 12 to 1 o'clock was lunch, and they said, when you go in the courtroom, they said, all right, when you guys deliberate, if you're doing, since we're not really doing anything until we need a verdict, we're just sitting there listening. As far as what we do out of the courtroom, it's literally until we need to go back there and deliberate to get a verdict, we just do nothing. So, because we're not ready for the verdict yet. So, during those few days while we're just sitting there listening to testimony, all we do on lunch is hang out and talk. We're not allowed to talk about the case yet because we're not supposed to be making decisions yet or whatever. So all we did on lunch was kind of just BS and get to know each other. So we're all you're all sitting at a table and everyone's like, hey, I'm Joe, and this is blah 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 whatever. So we get to this girl, and I don't remember her name. This is a million years ago by now. This was 98, like I said, so almost 20 years ago. But we get to this girl. And she's like, hey, I'm a hairdresser, and blah, 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 do this. So and then other people are asking questions like, hey, you're married, are you single, blah, blah. And she, went on this rant about, I'm not married, I'm never going to get married, I don't need to have a piece of paper that will tell my boyfriend or, my husband or whatever that I love him. If I want him to be my husband, I will just claim him as such, and I don't need a piece of paper, and it shouldn't be a legal thing. It should just be a thing about love and blah, blah, blah. And she just really went on this kind of rant, not yelling, but just very, stern and, firm about how she feels, about very anti-marriage. So we're all, people are kind of taken back because she's kind of getting, pissed off or whatever. And so we go on, and eventually, she calms down or whatever. And that was Monday. So Tuesday comes, everything's cool. Wednesday, everything's cool. Then Thursday, somebody new comes in. And 2 people left the jury on Wednesday. So they didn't tell us until Thursday morning. For whatever reason, they were gone. So Thursday, they had 2 people come in that were new to fill in, and we have to catch them up on what was discussed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then they pick it up from there, and then they're there for Thursday and Friday. So that's what we do. So while we're getting to know them, they're asking questions back and forth to us. So now picture this. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all of us know each other to a point. Thursday, we have 2 new people, and they come in, and now we're asking them, hey, what are you, what's your name, how you doing, where you from, blah, blah. So now we get to know them. So the one guy at the head of the table, whatever his name was, I don't remember, but he says, do you guys have any questions for us? Do you kind of anything you want to know about us? Or do you want to get to know us at all? So maybe we can come to a more concise verdict and blah, blah, something like that. So the guy just randomly asking questions around the room. And he was like, so, who are you? What do you do? Blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then he gets to this girl again, this hairdresser girl, and he's like, so what about you? What's your life like? What do you do? What's your name? Are you married? How long have you been married? Blah, blah, stuff like that. So she goes through everything, and then she gets to the marriage thing. And she goes, well, like I told these people on Monday, I don't believe in marriage. I think it's, bullshit or whatever she said. I don't need a legal piece of paper to tell my significant other that I love them. I think it's ridiculous. She said something like it's an inhumane ritual, I think is the phrase she used. And I think it's bullshit, and I don't believe in it. And I would appreciate if you didn't ask me about it again. So again, she was very stern and very firm. And the guy was like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. So that's Thursday. Thursday ends. Thursday comes and goes. Friday, we do the thing, whatever I think the verdict was guilty. And they had to pay all this stuff to get this guy's gums fixed or whatever. But again, I mentioned before that this hairdresser chick was super hot, blonde, real nice looking girl. And we're all saying our goodbyes. We do the verdict thing. We're all saying our goodbyes on Friday. Hey, pleasure to meet you, blah, blah, blah. So I asked this girl, like, hey, you mind if I walk into your car? She's like, oh, absolutely. You're more than welcome to. So I'm thinking, oh, that must be a good sign. Maybe she digs me. So we're walking to the car, and we're just BSing again, small talk about, I think we were talking about like movies or something like that, because I was kind of get a feel as to what her tastes were like. And I hit on the topic of going, so you got a phone number or what? So again, I'm trying to get her number. I think she's hot, and she's cool. She was totally cool. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm engaged. And I was like, what the fuck, engaged? What does that mean? Like, you just went on this rant 2 different times for like 15 minutes about how you don't believe in marriage and you don't need to do that because it's just a legal piece of paper and there's really nothing about love involved and it's bullshit and it's an inhumane ritual. I'm like, what about that? What about the inhumane ritual? And she goes, oh, I didn't mean any of that. I just want to get those people riled up. She's like, I think it's great. I love my fiance, and I think it's going to be awesome to be married to him, and blah, blah, blah. And all this really cool, sweet, stuff about marriage. And I was like, wow, you got me, because I was thinking, you hated marriage. And I thought, well, I still kind of think you're cool, so maybe I'll talk to you and see if we can exchange phone numbers and hang out and maybe get to know each other. But I guess you're kind of taken. So you have a great day. Take care. And I just walked away. We hadn't even gotten to her car yet. I just kind of went my separate ways to my car, and she kind of stopped, I guess surprised that I just walked away like that, and she didn't say anything. She just kind of stopped and looked at me for, I don't know, 2-3 seconds, and then just turned around and started going back to her car again. And I have never seen her or heard from her since. I mean, not that I would have. We didn't exchange information, but it was just so fucked up that she did that just to mess with people. And then she, come to find out, she actually loves the idea of marriage and being married, and she was already engaged on her way there or whatever. So that was kind of messed up. Again, like I said earlier, at the time I was crushed. Now I think it's hilarious. And here's another one that I think is hilarious that happened to me at a bar in New Milford, New Jersey. Used to be called Beamer's. Hasn't been there in many, many years now, but I used to love this place. I used to go there every single day. I worked at Best Buy, so days where I worked during the morning, I would go in at whatever 8 or 9, and usually leave at 3 or 4. I would go right to Beamer's afterwards and just hang out for a while. Days where I worked at night, it would close at 9:30. I'd be out of there by 10. They closed at 2, so I would shoot over there. It was between the store and my way home, so I would go over there after work and get a good buzz going and go home. So I met a girl there one night whose name I don't even remember. I don't even know if I ever got her name actually, but I walked into the bar, and the way this bar was situated was you would walk in. The doorway was at the back of the building, so you would walk in. The wall was on your left, and the open area, the bar, the couch and stuff was on the right. So when you walked in, the people that were sitting at the side of the bar nearest you, their backs were turned to you because the bar was on the right and you were coming in to the left. So I walked in and I saw this head of beautiful brunette hair, and I was like, whoa, that girl probably looks hot. I got to talk to her. So she wasn't, a supermodel or anything like that, but she was average, cute enough to talk to at least. I didn't care. I just wanted to hang out. I really didn't go there looking for women because I was there so much. So I always figured, if I went there and tried to pick up a girl and it didn't work out, I couldn't ever go back there. I'd be too embarrassed. But this night, I just saw this girl, and I was like, wow, this girl's really cool. So we actually did start talking. We had a little bit of small talk. Hey, how are you? I'm Joe. Pleasure to meet you. I live over here, blah, blah. And we talked a little bit, and, it was me basically telling her anything she asked me. Hey, where are you from? Where do you live? What's, how old are you? What's your job? Blah, blah, shit like that. Anything she asked me, I would answer. And I thought she was getting to know me, too. So, now, I know women know this, but guys, we know how when we meet a girl for the first time and we kind of really dig her, we want to say something witty we try to say something witty, at least. So they think like, hey, this guy's clever, or he's funny, or he's punny, or, I could date him, he's cool, he looks like he'd be a lot of fun. And then, we try to say something witty, and it falls flat sometimes. It doesn't always land. So this is one of those times. And I have no problem admitting that because, again, at the time, I was super crushed. But now I think it's hilarious. So I'm talking to the girl, we're BSing, we're making small talk, and out of nowhere she goes, all right, so let me ask you this. What kind of girls do you like? So now my brain kicks into guy trying to pick up a cute girl mode and says, hey, you need to be witty. Come up with something good for this. What kind of girls do you like? So it seemed like an eternity, but it was like 10 seconds or 15 seconds before I stupidly blurted out, well, I like girls who like me. Like, hey, that's pretty funny, right? That's clever. That's quick-witted and witty. And she turns to me, and I shit you not, she says, oh, I guess I'm not your type. I'm going to pause for a second so you can laugh at me. I thought it was, well, now I think it's hilarious. But at the time, I was like, I could have cried. Like, I can't believe that. Oh, my God. Like, how mean. But, like, dude, if your fucking buddy came up to you today and told you that happened to him and she said, I guess I'm not your type, you would fucking laugh your ass off at him. You would make fun of him for fucking months. I would. Shit, I know I would. So I think that's hilarious. And now I'm like, wow, like that girl fucked with me like on that level. We could have been buddies. We could have just turned out to be friends and that's it. I wish I remembered her name because that was hilarious. I would shake her hand right now. Oh, you're fucking, that's great, man. You're awesome. But, yeah, so that's what happened. And I was like, at the time, like, oh, okay, well then I guess I'll leave you to it and have a good night. And I walked away and I never saw her again, talked to her again. I went to the other side of the bar and that's it. I probably shot some pool that night and got drunk and went home. But, that was one of my favorite, now that is one of my favorite rejection stories. And those were two of my favorite rejection stories. And I've only got one more, but it's kind of got two parts. And when I met my girlfriend, my current girlfriend, Angela, who is my last girlfriend, hopefully, and we would talk about our past a little bit, whatever, I brought up this next story to her, and she thinks it's hilarious. And there were a couple of people around that I still talk to that were there during this. Chris O'Mealy, I think Pat McDermott may have been there, and maybe Jason Shin. I don't remember. I think Chris and Pat, I think, were definitely there. So we go to Red Robin in Clifton on Route 3, and we're going out to dinner, me and Chris, Pat, a couple other friends, and we have this waitress who's really cute. And I'm like, hey, this chick's kind of cute. And she comes over, takes the order, and she leaves. And I say to the other guys at the table, hey, this chick's kind of cute. I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to maybe try to get her number, see what's up. And they're all like, oh, yeah, man, go for it. Cool. So we're hanging out. We're every time she comes over, I kind of do something flirty, like, hey, how about a hug? And she gives me a hug, or hey, how about a smile? And she gives me like a smile, or like, hey, shake my hand. How are you, buddy? And she'll shake my hand, or whatever. Stupid guy shit that we think, oh, this chick's gonna blow me if I give her a hug or so, whatever the fuck. Guys are fucking dumb. Women know that. Guys are dumb. But I try not to be, but it shows especially when I tell stories like this to my girlfriend. So we're talking and whatever, we're eating, we're hanging out, we're having a good time. So she comes over for like the final time to give us our bill or whatever, and I ask for a separate check, and I literally, all I have on me for cash is 2 singles and my debit card. So I say to myself, well, I'm not going to put like a tip on the debit card and give her, these 2 singles. Like my bill was something like $9 or whatever. I didn't get all that much because I was by myself. I just got like a burger and a soda. That's really about it. So it wasn't more than like $9 or $10. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll give her the $2, and then I'll just put the actual bill, the food, on my card. So I do that, and she comes back with the receipt, and I sign the receipt for the credit card, and then on it I put my number, and I put call me with a smiley face, thinking like, hey, I don't have the balls to talk to this chick in front of all my buddies, some of those people which I didn't know, and look like a fool if it doesn't go well. So I'll do, again, the witty or funny or comedic thing or sneaky thing, or maybe she'll think it's so sneaky that it's cute, and I will put my phone number on the back of this receipt here. So she not only has my name, but she has my number. And I didn't think of the point that she actually has my credit card info too. But so that's what I do. So I'm thinking, cool, maybe she'll call me. So I go home. I think nothing of it. This was earlier in the night. This was probably 5, 6 o'clock. So I'm sitting home for a couple hours watching TV, just hanging out. So around 10:30, I get a text, and it says, $2 is $2 all I'm worth? I have no idea who this is from or what this even means. I'm thinking in my head, like $2. Like, did I get like a $2 hooker or something like that wasn't worth it? Or so? I don't understand what the hell's going on here. So I say, who is this? And she responds, I think her name was Samantha. And she goes, oh, it's Samantha, the waitress from Red Robin. And I'm like, what do you mean is that all you're worth? I don't understand. She's like, you only left me a $2 tip. Was my service not good enough for you? And I'm like, no. I said, no. I told you all I had on me was $2 in singles, and I was going to put the tip in cash, and I was going to put the food on my card. And I'm like, I didn't leave you my phone number so you can, text me and yell at me. I wanted to kind of maybe we can talk and get to know each other. And I never heard back from her ever again. That was probably 2003 or 4. So that happened. And the reason why I said this is a 2-part story, because that happened in, like I said, 2003 or 4. I was single again in 2010 for almost 5 years. So mid 2010, like early 2011, I think it was. I was hanging out with a guy, George, who was a neighbor of mine at the time. And we're still really close friends. We just don't live near each other anymore. But we were hanging out a lot, and one night we went to Bahama Breeze, which was on Route 46. I lived in Parsippany. Bahama Breeze, I think, is down a little bit in Wayne. So we are doing dinner there, whatever. Me, him, and his girlfriend at the time. And a similar situation comes up where we have a really nice-looking blonde waitress. So I do the same thing. And George knows about this story. He knows that this happened once before. So I do the same thing. I leave the waitress my number. I talk to her every time she comes over. We're talking, we're flirting or whatever. And finally she comes over to give us a check. I'm on a separate check. I do the same thing. I put my phone number on the receipt. Now, all of you know, because all of you have used credit cards or debit cards to pay for food, all of you know when you get the receipt back, there's one blank line that you sign with your name, and there's another blank line that you sign with the tip, and there's a third blank line where you total it up. You total the actual bill, plus your tip is whatever the total is. So with the receipt that she gave me was the customer copy, not the merchant copy. So the restaurant copy has the 3 lines on it. The customer copy doesn't. It's literally just the bill and that's it. The restaurant's copy has the 3 blank lines that you fill in for yourself. So she gave me the wrong one. Now, I don't generally go somewhere and think about tipping until I see that little tip line on the bill. So when I get the bill, I realize, oh shit, I gotta leave a tip. If I don't see that, I don't even think about it. So again, she gave me the wrong receipt. Okay, so this one's not my fault. So there was no tip on it. I just signed it and left it. And I didn't even realize it until I got a text message about 30, 40 minutes later from this waitress saying, you didn't leave me a tip. And same situation as the other girl at Red Robin years earlier. I go, what the hell does this mean? Who is this? So I respond, I don't know who this is. I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, oh, this is so-and-so from Bahama Breeze. You didn't leave me a tip, and you paid with your credit card, and you left me a phone number. And I responded saying, I didn't leave you a phone number so you can, call and complain to me. I left it so maybe we can talk and kind of hang out and get to know each other. I'm a single guy. You said you're a single girl, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, you didn't leave me a tip, so I would appreciate it if you would come back and do that. Now, today, I would think, well, fuck that, bitch. I'm not going anywhere now. Are you kidding me? Like, you don't call a customer and go, hey, can you come back here and give me more money? Hell no. But because I really dug this chick and thought she was cool, I thought, hey, maybe if I do that, she'll be cool. She'll be more inclined to give me a call. Maybe we'll hang out. And we did actually make plans to hang out, and then I never heard from her again. But actually, I'll get into that. I heard from her a couple times that week, but that's it. But I go back to the restaurant, I walk in, she recognizes me right away. She hands me the receipt that I signed, and I say, you know what I realized? This is not the right receipt. You gave me the wrong one. And she goes, what do you mean? So I explained to her, there's no line here for tip, for total, or signature. There's no lines at all. In fact, I just kind of signed it right over the receipt because there were no lines. And I said, since there's no tip line, I didn't even think about it. So she goes, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't even realize. I'll reprint it, and we'll be good. So she reprints it, I leave her a tip, and that's it. So everything's good. So I think, hey, so as I'm leaving, I think, hey, maybe I'll talk to her anyway. So I go, all right, take care. I'm sorry about this misunderstanding. Give me a call sometime. Maybe we can hang out. She's like, okay, I'll do that. And then she had told me earlier in the conversation when we were there that she had a kid. I don't give a fuck. You have a kid? That's cool. Fine. I don't care. I can deal with it. So I talked to her like once or twice during the week. She didn't contact me. I contacted her, and she was like, "Oh, I would love to hang out, blah blah, might be cool, blah blah." I'm like, "All right, whatever." So we made plans for like, I don't know, a couple weeks later, and then like 2 or 3 days later, she texts me and she goes, "You know what? I just can't hang out right now. I'm sorry, I can't do this. Like, I don't have time for a relationship. I have my kid and my job, and I just don't have time for it. And I'm sorry, and please don't think I'm a bitch." And I was like, "Well, it's okay. I'm not asking for a relationship. I just want to hang out, but no problem. Whatever." I go, "Have a nice life and take care and good luck." And I never heard from her again either. So I guess that's not as good of a story as as the rest, but it's still, to me now, it's funny because what are the odds that a guy leaves a phone number for a female waitress to call him socially, and she calls him to complain about her tip? I don't know anyone that's ever happened to, and it's happened to me twice. Like, what are the odds that that happens 2 times to the same dude? But it did, man, it did. So I'm going to leave you with one more story. This actually just came to mind, another waitress story. This just came to mind while I was telling the Red Robin story. And this one is, I'm going to leave you on a high note because this is me rejecting a girl. This is not a girl saying, "Hey, Joey Image, you dirty fuck, I'm never talking to you again." No. This is me shutting her down. We have a show for Grand Slam Wrestling. And a lot of you listening to this, Chris O'Mealy, for example, or Pat McDermott, you guys know this story. In fact, both of you were present for this story when this happened. I think it was 2006 or 2007, and I think we were in maybe Stanhope, New Jersey, or we were at the Sussex County Fairgrounds show, something like that. We were somewhere in Sussex County. We left, and we all went to Applebee's afterwards. It was a whole bunch of us. Actually, now that I think about it, this was at the Sussex County Community College, and Stevie Richards was on the show that night, and I remember that because we all went to Applebee's afterwards, and there was a whole other joke of a story going around about him and Applebee's. But we go to Applebee's, we're talking, we're hanging out, we're all having a good time. The waitress is super hot. I flirt with her all night long. "Hey, how are you? I'm Joe. Am I your favorite wrestler? Do you like me in spandex?" Blah, all this stupid, just bullshit that I was kind of only half serious. Like, I know, like, this chick ain't gonna dig me. I don't give a fuck, but I'm fucking hanging out anyway. But she starts coming back with it. "Oh, yeah, you're kind of cute," and blah, 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 and all this, like, flirty kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, like, wow, like, I may have something here. This is kind of cool. So I go back to her. She goes back to me, back and forth. We're kind of a little bit flirtatious all night long. And I'm thinking things are cool. I'm like, "Hey, man, this could work out to be something, cool, man. This could be cool." So we're talking, and the end of the night comes. She gives everyone their bill, and I take mine, and I look at it, and I'm about to fill it out. And I said, "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you grab me one more piece of paper and write your phone number on it?" And she goes, "Oh, I would love to, but I'm sorry, I'm engaged." And in my head, I go, "This chick's been flirting with me all night long just to get a fucking big tip on the bill. Come to find out that she's engaged." I go, "What the fuck?" So no sooner did she said that, I kicked in a second later. Sometimes I'm very quick-witted and it's funny. And sometimes it takes me hours to think of something I could have said hours prior. But this time I was amazingly quick-witted and I was proud of myself because this is how it went. "Hey, can you get another sheet of paper and write your phone number on it?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm engaged." "Oh, well, there goes your fucking tip." And I signed my name and walked out. Didn't leave her shit. No tip, no nothing. Fuck off. Go home to your fucking fiance and let him give you a tip. So I thought that was hilarious, and everyone that was with me thought it was hilarious. In fact, myself and Chris O'Mealy still kind of bring that story up to this day sometimes, just, to giggle. So if any of this shit ever happens to you, just think of me and you can laugh. You can laugh at me if you want. I'm okay with that. But I'm going to wrap this up right here. I hope everyone that's got somebody is having a good Valentine's Day. Everyone that doesn't, I hope you're having a good day. I know it kind of sucks. I was single for a long time on Valentine's Day, and it kind of sucks with all your friends who've got loved ones and have wives and husbands, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, and they're all telling you like, "Oh, it's so great," and lovey-dovey, blah 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 blah. I know how it is. It's cool. It's cool. You could be bummed out and pissed off about it. It's fine. You can be pissed off at those people. It's all right. It's only one day. It's cool. One day they get to rub in your face. Fuck them. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Please check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/JoeyImage, facebook.com/RealJoeyImage, prowrestlingtees.com/JoeyImage, and I will talk to you soon. Keep in touch.
Hey, 1640 PWPR is now on Apple iTunes. Simply go to iTunes, search out 1640 PWPR, and subscribe today.
This has been a presentation of the Three Ropes Media Network. For more, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/3ropes or visit us at threeropes.com.